Hi everyone, I'm Faith Berens. I am a special needs consultant and a homeschooling mom of two, and I'd like to welcome you to this workshop, Benefits and Blessings of Homeschooling Children with Unique Learning Needs. I'm happy to present this workshop to you, and I wanted to share with you from my homeschooling mom hat as well as my professional hat. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about myself. Not only am I a homeschooling mom of two, I am also a person with a hidden disability, so a unique learning need. So I'm going to be sharing with you from that aspect, and I'm also going to share with you how I have found homeschooling to work for my own two children, because both of my children have unique learning challenges. My son has auditory processing disorder, and my daughter has some attention issues and some anxiety, as well as a specific learning disability in reading. So we have found that the homeschooling environment is a great way to customize learning, customize their education, as well as offer accommodations and workarounds for these unique learning challenges. So I hope that you find this workshop helpful and encouraging, and that you will walk away with some tips and come away with a better understanding of the benefits and blessings of homeschooling your child, no matter what their unique learning challenges are. So let's dive into the meat of this workshop. I want to encourage you that at HSLDA, and as well as just personally myself, I truly believe that home education is an individualized educational plan. And not only is it an individual education plan, but it's also an excellent one. It's an excellent way to offer a customized learning plan, and particularly for students with unique needs and challenges. Due to its very nature, homeschooling really is an individualized educational plan. Did you know that in the U.S., students who are identified as having met criteria for special education services under Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, they will be written an IEP. But for homeschoolers, we encourage parents to draft their own version of an IEP, which we call a student education plan. I truly believe that parents can offer a customized educational plan and meet the unique needs and challenges of their students, no matter what their diagnosis or disability is. In fact, the International Dyslexia Association has a wonderful article titled "Why Homeschool the Dyslexic Student," and you can find that at www.ida.org. So in this brief time together, I want to share some anecdotal evidence with you of why and how home education is this individualized, excellent education plan. And I'm going to hopefully talk to you about the many benefits of it. Okay, so home education offers freedom and flexibility. You have the freedom to allow your child to progress at their own pace. You can meet them where they are developmentally. You can pace instruction so that it's not too fast. Or if they are excelling in a certain area or academic area, you can pace them ahead. You can skip ahead and seek to challenge them. You have the freedom to make learning fun and design a plan that is interest-based, which is motivating, because if learning is not relevant for the student and learners don't see how this applies to their life and their goals, then they typically don't engage. So with home education, we're able to offer a more engaging learning environment, and particularly this is helpful and motivating for reluctant learners or our resistant learners. Those who have come from other learning environments where they've met with failure or frustration, pulling them home gives them more freedom and flexibility, and they can come out of this deep freeze and they can start to be freed up from this learned helplessness cycle that often our struggling learners fall into. So the home learning environment can be very healing for them and help them to unlock learning. Dr. Thomas Armstrong, an educational consultant and special education teacher, in an interview that he did with Home Education magazine in 1996, stated, "Homeschooling can provide the opportunity of giving the child something very different than they were failing at in traditional school." So you have the flexibility and the freedom. You have flexibility of scheduling as well. You have more time for family trips, more time to pursue things that your students are passionate about, such as music or art or a sport. So you can plan around your child's strengths, not just their weaknesses. Perhaps you have a student who's very gifted verbally, and they can spend more time in speech or debate or pursuing poetry or writing. For our students with medically fragile conditions, parents then can customize the schedule that will best suit the child's unique needs. Oftentimes, students with severe medical needs, they need more time for sleep. They need more time for intensive therapy, and often they have special diets and medications that have to be overseen and administered. So parents do have more time to ensure that those special needs are met. I travel around the country, and sometimes I get the privilege of even traveling internationally and speaking with homeschooling families or those who are thinking about homeschooling. And meeting homeschooling families at these different conferences has been such a blessing, but I get to hear from families through my role at HSLDA, but just as well as a homeschooling mom being out in the communities and on different social media groups with homeschooling students with special needs. And I get to hear how many other families are finding that home education is working for their children, regardless of the diagnosis. So I want you to be encouraged that it doesn't matter whether your child has auditory processing disorder or attention focus issues, dyslexia. They may be gifted or twice exceptional, so they have a learning disability or a special diagnosis as well as being gifted. Maybe they have a visual motor processing problem or an intellectual disability, something like Down syndrome, or maybe they're on the autism spectrum. It truly doesn't matter what their diagnosis is. I want you to be encouraged that you can offer and provide this really customized, individualized education plan. Be sure to think about incorporating therapies as part of your home education plan. It is really a vital piece. And again, that's one of the freedoms and flexibilities is we do have time to pursue those special interventions or remediation programs and therapies as part of our customized approach. So I'd like to share with you just a tidbit from a couple of families that I've met along the way and share what they have seen as the benefits of homeschooling. This is from a friend who is a homeschooling mom. She's also a former public special education teacher. She shares, because of homeschooling, I've been able to make accommodations for my son where necessary and challenge him where desired. Not only does he understand himself now, but he's able to self-advocate. And she says, what a blessing home education has been. Both of my unique learners are flourishing as a result of homeschooling. Our pace and method is customized for them, which affords us the time and energy to focus on any learning gaps. As a former classroom teacher, I know this confidence would not have been grown in a classroom with 25 other students. Now I'd like to share from a homeschooling mother who has an adopted child with fetal alcohol syndrome and ADHD. This mom has chosen to incorporate a cognitive development, neurodevelopmental program as part of her home education day. She's using the Equipping Minds cognitive development curriculum. And she says, I have been amazed at the results for my daughter, and I want to share this with as many people as possible. I have seen that the problem is not with most curriculum now. It is with my daughter's need for greater cognitive skills. With this hope, and also with the fact that this work would not be done in public schools in such a comprehensive way, more people would be able to stay homeschooling. I know that traditional school is not the place for my daughter. I've been told, because I taught in high school in England before homeschooling my children, and I've seen that it would not have been the best place for her. So this mom who has a child with fetal alcohol syndrome and ADD, ADHD, has discovered that by having her child at home and incorporating cognitive therapy, neurodevelopmental therapy as part of their home education day, that her child is now thriving and making great strides. So I just want you to feel confident that no matter what your child's diagnosis is, you can address their needs at home as well as get some outside therapy to supplement your home education day. And it's truly going to provide the best customized education. Now I want to share some just statistics and interesting information with you. Through the Department of Education statistics, we've seen homeschooling grow. Over the past 15 years, data from the National Center for Education Statistics have shown an increasing trend in the numbers of children being educated within the home, including students with disabilities. So you can see in the 1970s, there were between 10,000 and 15,000 children aged 5 to 18 were homeschooled. And then in 1983, another study was done, 60,000 to 125,000 children estimated as homeschooled. And this rise was mostly due to the increase of religious motivations, people wanting to pass their values to their children, and more people growing dissatisfied with public schools. In 2008, we see a jump, 1.5 to 2 million children estimated as homeschooled. And this trend continues, and it's particularly on the rise for students with disabilities. Also, according to the National Center for Educational Statistics, from 1999 to 2007, the percentage of students with disabilities who were homeschooled increased from 1.8% to 2.6%. And today, as we speak, an unprecedented number of children are being educated at home, not only due to world conditions going on around us. According to Chronicle Online article dated March 24th, 2021, according to the Household Pulse Survey, which was conducted by the Census Bureau, the rate of households homeschooling doubled from the start of the pandemic last spring. Last spring, about 5.4% of all U.S. households with school-aged children were homeschooled, but that figure rose to 11% by last fall. The survey specifically asked a question to clarify that it was genuine private homeschooling, not virtual learning at home. We saw increases in the numbers of Black families and Hispanic families rise. Black households saw the largest increase, 3.3% to 16.1%, and Hispanic households increased from 6.2% to 12.1%. Asian households also increased from 5.7% to 9.7%. And if we think about people with disabilities, roughly at least 15 to 20% of the population has a specific learning disability. So if we apply that to these increases we're seeing with these specific population groups, we know that there's going to be students with special needs that are included in that. So homeschooling continues to grow specifically because of special needs. In 2007, this National Household Survey found that 21% of homeschooling parents reported other special needs as their motivating reason for why they were choosing to homeschool. And then 11% reported because of physical problems or mental health issues with their students, that's why they were choosing to home educate. So we can see the trend that homeschooling, because of special and unique learning needs, just continues to grow. So these changing motivations for homeschooling, again, it could be spiritual values, reasons, but this dissatisfaction with a public school or a traditional learning environment, as well as academic needs and concerns, but this growing concern about special, unique learning needs just continues to swell as one of the changing motivators for home education. More and more people are seeing the benefits and the blessings of homeschooling for their unique learners, again, because it's customized, because we can offer that consistent one-on-one and a lower student-teacher ratio than what happens in traditional learning classrooms. And again, we can plan based on our child's strengths. So it's a strength-based approach, whereas most schools are coming at it from a weakness based approach, where we'll identify students and we will address their weaknesses minimally through some pull-out services often, or just offering them accommodations, ways to work around their weak areas. But traditionally in public schools and even in private schools, there's a gap or a missing link there as to being able to work on the students' strengths and then being able to truly provide enough one-on-one intervention. And that's really what makes the biggest difference, is that one-on-one instruction, or even three-on-one small group instruction for families that have multi-age kiddos. That consistent daily direct instruction is really what makes a big impact, particularly for our kiddos with special needs. So I want to talk to you about another benefit of homeschooling, particularly kids with these special learning challenges, is that in a home education setting, we can truly provide a developmentally appropriate setting. There's been lots of research done in the field of education about developmentally appropriate instruction, particularly in early childhood programs. This started way back in the 1980s. Sue Bredekamp led the way. She was with the National Association for the Education of Young Children. She's done a lot of research as an early childhood specialist and an educational consultant. Beginning in 1979, she was looking at developmentally appropriate learning contexts for young children. She learned that language and literacy development in the preschool, early childhood years should not stress isolated skill development or formal instruction in phonics. She talked about a linguistic awareness, and that this is best developed within the context of children working and playing. She is often quoted as saying that play is a child's work, and that is true. So developmentally appropriate environments should provide many opportunities to hear and play with language. These opportunities should, whenever possible, be a part of the child's natural experiences. And if we read that, that's what homeschooling is. It's a natural learning environment. There's lots of playing. There's lots of reading aloud going on. There's rich conversation happening in the context of families. And students are not just around same age peers. They're around lots of different ages of people and their family members. And so they're having rich conversations. So particularly for students with language-based processing problems and learning disabilities, that's key to help them develop and make faster gains and stronger gains. So the home education setting, particularly for young students, is a rich learning environment. So I want you to feel confident that by homeschooling, even your kiddos with special learning needs, you are providing a developmentally appropriate setting for them. So spend lots of time playing games, taking walks, playing outside. Kids should be running and jumping and building and making mud pies and playing in the sand, and young children, and developing those gross motor skills and fine motor skills. Lots of time spent with puzzles, games, reading aloud, kids helping with chores, because that's spending the time laying a very firm foundation. We're building all these cognitive skills as well as social skills, and the language, the rich language environment, which then all of academics builds upon. And having been in public school previously as well as private school, I can tell you that there was a shift that happened. We used to have dress up in those classrooms and lots of blocks and lots of play materials and the kitchen sets and all those things for students to be acting out and using their imagination. And a shift happened, and we went away from developmentally appropriate settings in institutions, and we went more to pencil paper and the push to get students reading and writing earlier. And that goes against everything we know in the field of education and research, and particularly this developmentally appropriate research. So you can feel confident that your home education setting, particularly for pre-K and kinder and younger kids, is this developmentally appropriate practice. So developmentally appropriate practice, just to cap it off, is it engages children's interests, it adapts for age, experience, and their ability, and it provides challenging yet achievable goals. And this results positively for all children, no matter what special, unique learning needs that they have. So let's talk more about benefits of home education. Students have more time for on-task, focused learning. Less interruptions, less transition time. In the classroom, there's a lot of transition time. There's a lot of time spent waiting. And so in a home education setting, kids are naturally playing and they're working on things. Even if mom has to take a break from direct teaching to swap a load of laundry, kids are still engaged. They're still working on their puzzle or playing their game or whatever. So they have more time to delve into in-depth learning. Maybe they're interested in snakes at the moment, and so they can take longer stretches of time to pursue areas of interest. Again, the learning can be real and relevant for them. We have more time to work on life skills, cooking and chores. Kids can go out on errands with us, and so they're actually then learning how to generalize, how to apply. Oh, we've been working on money. You can help mom count out the money when we go to the grocery store. We've been working on alphabetizing. When we go out to the library, we can practice that skill when we're looking for our books on the shelf. So there's just more time to practice skills, and then natural connections are made that are real and relevant to our students. And this has particular payoff, particularly for our students that do have learning struggles, because they don't generalize well. And so this gives them more time and opportunity to make those connections. Also, we find in home education settings that more students are spending more time reading connected, high-quality literature as well as nonfiction text. And so this really results in big achievement and big payoff for our home-educated students. There was a researcher by the name of Nell Duke, and she back in the 90s was looking at how much time students in first grade classrooms and elementary classrooms spent reading nonfiction text. And her study came out, and it was either 3.6 or 3.9 minutes a day reading connected text that was nonfiction genre. So we know that our homeschool students spend a lot more time reading, and then they have the opportunity to read lots of different kinds of text. Parents can provide what's called mediated learning, and all that means is there is an adult or someone who is older at a higher functioning level working with a student or another person, and they're having conversation and asking questions. They are learning together, but the older person is mediating the learning. Other benefits of home education, there are opportunities for multisensory learning, which helps students who struggle. That direct, structured, and explicit instruction is a methodology that is particularly beneficial for struggling students. And we have the opportunity to teach in what's called the zone of proximal development. This term was coined by Russian psychologist, educational psychologist named Vygotsky, and all it means is teaching in the student's sweet spot, where learning is not too hard and not too easy, but just right. And we have that freedom and flexibility, the blessing to be able to do that at home. And again, more sleep and healthier diets and lots of time outside in the sunshine, which makes for just healthier, happier, particularly for mental health. We know that there is a mental health crisis going on in our nation, and particularly for students with special learning needs. And so by providing more time, more sleep, more time outside in sunshine, students are definitely going to benefit from that, and they're going to have better mental health, which then will help with their learning. Also, our homeschool students score higher. Dr. Brian Ray of the National Home Education Research Institute showed that homeschoolers outscored public school students in achievement tests by 30 to 37 percentile points across all subjects. And further research study that he conducted in 2008, which was a cross-sectional descriptive study, included over 11,000 participants from all 50 states, as well as Guam and Puerto Rico, which would include students with special learning needs. He found that homeschoolers still achieved well beyond public school counterparts, no matter their family background, socioeconomic status, or the style of their home education. The homeschoolers scored, across the board, just at greater percentiles. So on standardized tests. So research also shows that homeschool students with learning disabilities make more progress in reading. This is based on Duvall, Ward, Greenwood, and Delacadre, a 1997 exploratory experimental study that they did examined the effectiveness of parents who were homeschooling students with learning disabilities. And then it looked at public school students as well. So we had homeschool students and public school students, two small groups, and they were compared. The homeschooling parents had no special training in disabilities or anything like that. And the public school students were taught in a resource room with a special education teacher. And achievement tests were administered to both groups, pre and post. And the homeschool students with learning disabilities made more progress in reading. Math was greater or equal to their public school counterparts. So that's a small study, but more research is being done in the fields of special needs homeschooling all the time, and we're seeing the benefits. So I like to read research. I'm kind of a research geek, and I get to read those, and we're seeing more and more benefits in students doing well. So the other blessings are you have more time for developing closer family relationships. It's a safe environment, safer than many of our public schools. We do know that students with disabilities and special needs are at greater risk of bullying and physical difficulties at school. So it is a safer environment. You have more time to teach those life skills, transition skills, and help them with their independent living skills. And a particular benefit and blessing that I always find is I'm getting the joy and the privilege to help my child reach his full God-given potential. I don't have to worry that the expectations are being lowered or that he's being pigeonholed because of his diagnosis. So that's a great benefit and blessing. Some challenges that are faced by unique learners is often families will report that they struggle with feeling fearful or feeling like they're not doing enough. They often feel alone. Maybe they can't find support or they're struggling with funding for therapy. And sometimes they'll face persecution or attacks from those in academia or higher levels, higher professions like doctors. And so that's why HSLDA is here. We're here to help you, to come alongside you in this journey. Your state homeschool associations and your local associations are there, and HSLDA supports the state homeschool associations. We are here to make homeschooling possible, and we're also here to come alongside you in your journey and walk with you through your fears and your challenges. We can help connect you with funding. We can support you. We can make curriculum suggestions for you as you're seeking to homeschool your child, no matter what their unique learning differences or diagnosis. We want to encourage you to seek support. We have a group services directory on our website. We want you to know that you are not alone. We are here for you. And we want to encourage you. And also, as you're walking this journey and learning and growing, as you're homeschooling a child with special needs, I just know that you can be used then to mentor and encourage others that you meet along the way. So I'd encourage you to join HSLDA. Definitely tap into your state homeschool association for their support. And also check out SPED Homeschool. I happen to serve on their board, and we are a national organization that also seeks to support families who are homeschooling, specifically children with special needs. So we are here for you, and just want to encourage you that you can do this, and there are many benefits and blessings of homeschooling your child with unique learning challenges. Thank you.